between 150 and 170, it's not going to affect the prescription, right? But when you're fluctuating like 100 points, you know what I'm saying? So you have to get your...
And how long do I have to get it under control for, like 2 months?
Yeah, not that long. Maybe like 6 months or something like that.
6 months?
Well, we kind of want to see what your real prescription is, you see what I'm saying? I mean, maybe, it probably would be your real prescription after, like you said, 2 or 3 months, but that's not the only factor. Like, we kind of want to be able to believe you that you're going to control it afterwards also, you see what I'm saying? You're going to have to prove to me that you can get that stuff under control before I leave you, because I want to guarantee a good outcome, and it's not just like me guaranteeing the outcome, it has to be like a partnership, you see what I'm saying? So as long as I believe that you can control your insulin, you know, that's fine.
So what happens like every 6 months, you control, you saw a pattern that this level of glucose is controlled, and you do the laser surgery, and right after the laser, it changes. Would that affect your diet? The glucose level is over.
Just repeat your question.
My question is, you just said you like to keep a history of about 6 months pattern, correct?
No. That's just him. That's just the glucose, insulin, diabetes question. That's not anything to do with somebody who doesn't have diabetes.
Doesn't say somebody who has diabetes.
Okay.
You see a pattern that is glucose level and its insulin is controlled pattern of 6 months.
Right.
Okay. After the 6 months, that day you see it's perfect, you can do the surgery. But right after the surgery, glucose level
No, that's what I was
the healing affects his eye.
That's what I was trying to explain. In other words, the post-op is affected by glucose shifts. Okay? So that's why he has to prove to me that I can trust him to maintain his glucose. He's not just going home eating cake or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because his prescription will stabilize after like a month, maybe 2 months. Okay? The only reason I said 6 months is because I want to make sure that afterwards he can be stable and he'll heal quickly. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason. You know, so I've done probably 100 people or more than 100 people with diabetes, but they kind of have to prove to me that they can control their. Just like we had a patient the other day. I don't know which might remember this person. And she came in with a flat complication, like she was a nurse and she got LASIK somewhere else like 10 years ago. She got hit in the eye with a kid's toy. She had a foreign body sensation in her eye for like a month. She didn't go to see a doctor. She saw somebody in the emergency room, which is not an eye doctor. It's just an emergency room doctor. He said, you got a scratch, don't worry about it. She never went to any eye doctor at all, which I find strange. Just keep in mind, which I find strange as a nurse, because you would think that she'd be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that it could be a problem. Okay, so then she presents to an ophthalmologist down some other place, and then he gives her appropriate diagnosis of epithelial ingrowth. Epithelial ingrowth means the flap comes up when you hit. I had LASIK, okay? So anybody who got LASIK, if they get hit in the eye, even years later, the flap can come up. The flap never really heals, okay? So if you get hit in the eye, the flap can come up a little bit. You're not really that aware of it. And then the skin of your eye can grow underneath the flap, and that's a problem because it's not supposed to be underneath that flap. If it stays underneath that flap, it could melt the flap, and you wind up with no flap, and you don't see well because you're winding up with distant part of your cornea, okay? So then she saw another ophthalmologist who diagnosed her with epithelial ingrowth, and then she finally came to me maybe like, 6 weeks out, because the guy said he didn't want to deal with her. Now, I don't know if he didn't want to deal with her because he's not experienced in treating epithelial ingrowth, and he sent her to me because I had an article published about this last year, like the #1 refractive journal in the world, or if there's something about her. Because then when she came in here, we told her what the problem was. We said, look, you really should have come in at 1 week. If you came in at 1 week, this whole problem wouldn't happen. And then if you didn't come in at 1 week, you should have come in right away. But she was just kind of like, right? So I said, we have to take this out, we have to lift it up, we have to scrape it out, we have to sew it, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of an involved thing. And I said, maybe we could do it tomorrow, because it was a Thursday, and tomorrow we have surgery, and we kind of squeeze her in, because the sooner you do it, the better. She's like, well, I'm a little bit busy tomorrow, so we do it like, in a couple weeks. I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe. And then we look at a couple weeks, and she's like, well, no, I'm really busy. And she says, oh, maybe I could do it in January. I'm like, I don't even want to operate on this person because she doesn't understand the severity of her problem. And then when I tell her, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, I don't really believe she's going to listen to me. So I'm suspicious that the other doctor didn't want to operate on her, not necessarily because he didn't know what to do or he wasn't confident about that procedure, but he just didn't have this is what surgeons call like the substrate to operate on. I mean, I'm a great surgeon. I really truly believe I'm the best practice surgeon in New York. But if one of the patients isn't going to be compliant, I'm not going to touch that patient because I'm not going to get the good result that I can guarantee on a normal patient. I'll just turn the patient away. So this is like the conversation we had with her. So as long as he proves to me that he can control his glucose and that kind of stuff, I know I can give him a good result. I've done it in 100 people. It'll be kind of yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Good vision in the morning.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a reliability factor, you see what I'm saying? So I really just want to, just like, okay, let's say that somebody who's black is like -8, okay? They have a much higher chance of scarring than someone who's white -2, okay? So someone who's white -2 would say you have to take your steroids, you have to take your certain pills, you have to take your vitamin C, you have to wear your sunglasses. These are all things not to scar. Now that person might cheat and not do it. But if the person's white -2 and I detect they're not reliable, I don't care because if they don't do one of those things, they're probably going to be fine. If they're -8 and have a history of keloids or something like that and they're black, they will scar and they won't see well. I'm not going to touch that patient. So you have to understand that the decision to do refractive surgery is not a unilateral decision, and that's why I want my staff to be more on top of this kind of metric. It's a partnership between me and the patient, and not only do you guys have to choose me and choose us to do your eyes, we have to choose you too. Okay, it's not just we take all comers. You know, we're a little bit selective, and I really think that our patients are above average in terms of intelligence and compliance because they've already decided that they don't want to get LASIK. Okay, I did LASIK. It's a good procedure, but it's not the best procedure out there. This is a safer procedure. The only downside is it takes longer to recover and stuff like that. Okay, so I think we're kind of, we have to keep in mind. So I think we have to, we're self-selecting for the more intelligent patients.